Good
Michael, Mary.
evening, Jeopardy fans, and welcome to another episode of Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel presented by thejeopardyfan.com. Once again, as always, I am Andy Saunders, and I will be moderating tonight's discussion. We've got three contestants from the past teachers tournament able to join us this evening, so we'll get right to the introductions. Returning to Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, welcome back, Mary Parker. Thanks for joining us again, Mary.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
And two people who were unable to join us last week. First up, I will introduce Michael Camp. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Pleasure.
And finally, last and certainly not least, the champion of the Teachers Tournament. Congratulations, David Clemmons, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's an honor, Andy. I sure appreciate it.
Now, as always, here on Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, if you've got a question or a comment for our panel, you can always leave it on the Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter. We also have a YouTube chat. I do keep a look at both of those, so either way, I will be able to see your comments. So I think certainly a good spot to start discussion tonight is Monday's semifinal.
Yes.
And obviously the biggest part of that game was, oh my, your comeback in the back half of Double Jeopardy. That was one of the best things I have ever seen, David.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah. My first question regarding that is, how does it feel when you're up there and, just completely in the zone like you were?
Okay, in the hole like that. Well, here's what actually I was truthfully doing, okay? They come, anytime you have a break, they come up to you, they tap you on the shoulder, you turn to the side, they touch up your makeup, and then they bring you a bottle of water that's marked 1, 2, or 3 on it, so you can get a sip of water once they've touched up your makeup. And so in that moment, I'm just kind of going, okay, so this is it. This is the end. And then one of the people comes over from Jeopardy, and then they work with me on the buzzer for a little bit, and I'm thinking in my head, it was just not my night for categories in this first half. It's really not the buzzer. It works. I just don't know, and then, or know many of them anyway. And so, but at the same time, though, I'm thinking, okay, after every part of your show, or after every show, they do an interview, whether you win or lose, and that's all a part of it. And so I'm thinking, okay, I need to thank Farmers Insurance for the $2,500 grant. I need to thank Jeopardy for this marvelous experience. I need to thank my high school, my wife, and my children. Just who do I need to thank? And so then the Alex comes on, the categories come up, and they pop up 1, and I'm like, oh, okay, 2, okay, 3, okay, 4, and when 6 categories gets up there, I'm thinking, I've got a chance. And up in the stands where my wife and daughter were sitting, my youngest daughter, who's watched me practice the most, she grabbed her mother's arm and said, he's got a chance. Almost probably at the same moment, I thought, I've got a chance, And so then at that point, it was like, okay, let's see what we can do, and maybe,
And so obviously seeing the categories helped. Now, obviously, midway through Double Jeopardy, I think you were still way down in the, I think
Right.
It was after you gave the Monty Python, when you said Monty Python and the Holy Grail instead of Spamalot.
That's exactly right. I blew that question as well, too. And look, one thing I want to say about that game before I go any further is Gail and Sarah were handing me my butt on a plate. Okay, there is no question about that. All right, they were doing that. And then I hit my stride and hit my categories and stuff. And then, of course, I kind of went all Arthur Chu, jumping down and starting at the bottom and that way a little bit. And but they were categories when I got control of the board. They were categories I thought I knew, and started there, and then got to 6, and then I hit the daily double. So at that point, when you've been 400 down, you don't really have a choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Because you certainly you certainly cracked up kind of a little bit on air when you were like, let's make it a true daily double.
Well, and Andy, here's what's funny about that, and I'll be quick. I don't want to take time away from Mary or Michael's games, but on that particular thing, almost everyone that I've met that's connected with Jeopardy or has watched Jeopardy, people have said, I've always wanted to say, let's make it a true daily double. Now, I'm promising you this, hand up in the air, okay? I've never thought I want to say to Alex, let's make it a true daily double, because if that's the case, you're desperate.
Right.
For the most part, okay? I want to be far enough ahead that I don't have to do that. So I actually got choked up because I'd laughed about it the night before, talking to my wife and saying, you know, I really don't want to say that. Then the next day I had to. So I got choked up over the conversation I'd had with my wife before, like, here I am. Okay, I have to say it, even though I want to. So there we go. I almost felt like I was throwing up my hands and going, you know, what the heck? Okay.
Yeah, and it certainly worked out for you. And okay. My next question. Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
To David, because I've been meaning to ask you this. I remember watching your episode, that semifinal again on TV, and I didn't realize how even in the second round it took you a couple questions to hit your stride. At what point did you kind of tell yourself, you better start ringing in because you got to get on some of these questions? At what point, or did you feel confident that the questions that you started to see were just ones that you knew?
Well, when I have to say, I have to thank my fellow teachers at Keller High School and my students at Keller High School that helped me practice, because we had a buzzer system we borrowed from the foreign language department. Go foreign language there, Michael.
Yay.
Yeah, and we practiced, and we played a number of games several ways. And in the games where I tried to answer every question, my score went up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And in the games where I strictly buzzed in when I knew the answer, my score went up chunk. And on the ones that I missed, I really thought I knew the answer, so I was wrong, of course. And so that's what dropped me down. But you know, if you watch kind of the other games, sometimes I just stand pat and I'm like, I don't know this answer for sure, so I don't want to lose $2,000, but you know, I'll wait, you know. And so that was kind of, that's what I ended up doing, was just holding on to that strategy the whole way through. Okay. I had a different thing about betting, but that's whole nother issue. But but as far as that goes, I'm going to live or die on what I know.
Yeah, totally get that.
Yep, absolutely, and that's you know, the neg penalty on Jeopardy is a lot harsher than what many people think, and certainly because not only do you lose the money, your opponents have the opportunity to still gain that money themselves.
Right.
And,
Right.
And one answer out of the infinite spectrum of possible answers has been eliminated, so usually you can kind of get there.
That's true, Mary. You're right. And the other thing is that, like you say, with the betting and what you're doing, or I'm sorry, with the points that you lose from missing, let's say that it's a $1,600 thing. So you that's the question, and on you buzz in and stuff, and you miss it. Okay, if you got it right, that's $1,600 more. If you get it wrong, it's $1,600 less. So that's a 32 swing in one whack. You know, which can be the game on any of those second round questions.
Right.
And so usually your fellow contestants are going to give a reasonable answer, and that helps you kind of springboard onto what might be correct.
Right.
That's true. That's very true. That's true. Yeah. I have to say on the game, as the Monday game, I really wanted to get that daily double right. And some people at my school that had watched it said, well, that was really interesting, the way that you were pausing on that daily double before the answer. They thought I was trying to make it dramatic. And I said, no. I said, no, you don't have time to make it dramatic. No. Here's the thing. So I had Upton Sinclair instantly, but I'm running back through my head in the 2 seconds that I have, all the muckrakers, oil, you know, the shame of the cities, and all. It's just, that's what I'm doing in those 2 seconds. And then I'm like, nope, none of them have King Cole, so Upton Sinclair, there we are. That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was all that fast.
I know when I was playing it, that one at home, I was like, okay, it's Upton Sinclair, it's not Sinclair Lewis. Keep them apart. And
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But those ladies were great players. If they'd gotten any one of the questions that I got right, it could have turned the game right there.
Absolutely.
That's it.
It was such a good game.
All your games were so good, David. They were all very, very tense. I mean, you and Cody were tied going into Final Jeopardy. And then if Nan and I hadn't flubbed our Final Jeopardies in that first one, I mean, we were giving you a run for your money. We were they were good games. I was surprised.
That is true.
Literally all I remembered from those games was losing them, but they were good games.
Yeah, David definitely earned one. He did not have any control of it by any stretch.
Yeah. So
well, and I'd never one more thing, Andy. I would never say this. Mary, I would never say this about the tournament. I would never say to anyone that I dominated the tournament. We had some really great players, Mary and Nan at the top there, and Michael, and you know, the games could have gone either way. I mean, Cody I could have gone home in the first round. Cody could have beat me. Okay, there's no question about that. And in that game that, you know, I came back on, easily either of those ladies could have won that game. And so you know, it's a great tournament all the way around.
I wasn't in any way trying to diminish your accomplishment. I think you played really, really well and you wagered really, really well. And, you know, some of the categories were definitely in your wheelhouse and definitely not in mine. And that's fine. It happens.
Well, it's like that first half of that money game. You know, that just wasn't my. This is honest, secret sauce, truth, Jeopardy truth. Okay, I went back and I counted up the 30 questions, and brace yourselves. In that first round of the Monday game, I knew 9.
Wow!
Wow!
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. That's it.
I have to say, I loved going to Twitter and seeing how they would calculate what was what. Like at the end of 15 clues, this many. At the end of this many.
Right.
And I remember in my quarterfinal game, you know, Nan, I thought, did a really great job and really kind of took the game over in terms of the score. But when I saw that and saw that she and I had the same amount of correct answers, and I only had one less incorrect answer, I had to do like a Three Stooges double take and go, wait a second, how did it speaks to that whole randomness of the show, and that sometimes you get what you get and you know it, and sometimes you don't. There's so many variables in there that when you actually sit down and really watch it and look at it from a different perspective, it changes the way that you saw the game. I watched that game and said to myself, wow, you really did do a good job. Not that I didn't think I did, but I was surprised at how close really and competitive all of the games really were at that point.
Yes.
Well, I mean, everybody got through from your game, Michael. Everybody got through from my quarterfinal round. We all played really well.
Right.
Not to diminish, again, the playing of anybody else. Everybody did really well. I thought everybody definitely made the most of the games they were given, and some of us got luckier than others.
I agree 100%.
That's right. And Cody and Stephanie in the game that I played the very first time, not to go back too far, Andy, but in that game, they were both right up there. We were less than $2,000 apart in that game, and any one of them in Final Jeopardy could have won. So you know, and the other thing too is I have watched Jeopardy enough to know that sometimes it's hard to say, okay, well, everybody was at 18,000 here and everybody was 10,000 here. I mean, some games, frankly, it's tougher questions than others, and you know, but it was a great tournament all the way around. I mean, everybody played well, I thought.
So my next question, actually, one more question I have about Monday semifinal before I move on a bit. Final Jeopardy and Telegram and the Telegraph.
Yes.
I heard through the grapevine that there was a tape stoppage there. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
How long was the tape stoppage, and I guess how tense was it for you as they were deliberating on your response?
Well, my wife and daughter said that they thought it was about an hour. Okay. They said they didn't breathe. They just said they didn't breathe, and I thought that it was about 3 or 4 minutes, but in actuality, it was about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe, that they were stopped in real time and stuff. When I've looked back and thought more about it and all, it really didn't take them as long as I thought it might for them to do it. They got to it really quickly, and since they told us that we could challenge one, you know, all the time I'm thinking in my head, okay, it said by what means. It didn't say by what invention. It didn't say by what contraption. It didn't say by what machine. It said by what means. And so I thought, you know, if they don't take this, because it's for $100,000, I'm going to walk over there and say, guys, I think you need to look at the wording of the question again and see it. I think both could be acceptable there. But then they came to it before I did that, so I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that was a little bit on the you know, some people obviously with every judgment call the judges make, there are people who don't like it. For the record, I agreed with the call. I thought it was fine. There was no problem with it.
It was right, of course.
Yeah, it was right. The judges are pretty smart people. I think I can count on less than one hand the number of times I've disagreed with them over the past few years, at least. So,
right. Sure. Well, on that particular one, I think it was the wording of the question that left it open either to telegraph or telegram. And the reason I scratched out telegraph, because I really had telegraph instantly. I thought, okay, that's on a telegraph like this. Then I read through the question again, and I thought, it says, by what means? Well, the means was on a telegram sent through a telegraph machine. So they didn't give the Pulitzer Prize to the telegraph. They gave the Pulitzer Prize to the telegram and what was contained in it. So that's why I scratched off and put telegram. And so I felt I had a good argument if they hadn't have done it. But obviously they came to it real quick, relatively speaking. But you're right. It was a stoppage, but not too long.
Your explanation sounds smart.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So we've got some comments on the
I bet you do.
We've got some comments on the YouTube chat.
Okay.
First of all, from Michael Thomas, congrats, David. I'm from Texas too, San Antonio.
David's from Arkansas. Let me just say.
Woo pig suey.
That's right.
Let's see, from Matt Carberry, 2 minutes. He guessed they didn't have to call any restaurants like on Kaberi's DACA pronunciation last year in the Futures Tournament. And from Jonathan Graham, Western Union probably isn't that busy these days, so calling them shouldn't take that long.
That's funny.
That's right. That's true. That's great. That's very true.
And for anyone listening, sorry, go ahead, one other thing. For anyone listening in the Dayton or Cincinnati area, I'll pass this along from Jonathan Graham as well. There are lots of tornadoes touching down in that area, but thankfully no reported fatalities. That's right to know.
That's right.
So go back
to run back to Mary's point and stuff, I am really glad that the guy from Texas gave some props there. I've been living here for 13 years, and my wife and daughters have had a great experience here, but I was born and raised and educated in Arkansas, all except for my Duke University experience. So I grew up a Razorback fan, and I have to say, if you want to get a little controversy going here, back in 1986, when Arkansas was having its sesquicentennial, its 150th anniversary of the state of Arkansas, Texas slid in there and said, oh yeah, we had 150 years because we were a country back in 1836 and all, and they stole our thunder. And National Geographic wrote an article about Texas, did not even mention Arkansas sesquicentennial. So I got to take this one from my Hogs and my Razorbacks and my Arkansas peeps. So
Suey.
Arkansas right there.
Hey, we called the Hogs on that Jeopardy stage. Everybody knows now.
We did. That's exactly right. We did that after the tournament was over. I went over to Mary and Cody, and I put my arm around both of them, and I said, hey, there's one thing that we haven't done here, being from Arkansas, and they didn't even have to ask me what it was. We said, yep, you're right. And we walked back up in front of the screen, and then all our families joined in, and we did the Razorback Hog Call right in front of the Jeopardy teacher tournament screen, and our families all joined in.
Much to the mystification of literally everyone else in the entire studio.
That's right.
Hey,
that was great.
You would be happy to know that the East Coast guy jumped in there too as an Alabama.
Yay!
There you go. That's right. That's true.
I know exactly and my dad actually worked in Searcy for a while too. So
no,
he's been up
you're
to
kidding.
Bill. So I was very glad to participate.
Well,
in that one.
I graduated from BB High School, 15 miles from Searcy.
There we go. See, the world
Hey,
gets
look at
smaller.
it gets smaller. That's right. Exactly.
It certainly does.
Exactly. Yep.
Andy, you have to make sure that everybody who watches this knows that we now play 6 Degrees of David Clemmons instead of 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon because it's much easier. David knows everybody.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because Cody and I, after we got back from the trip, we found out that Cody's family lived 20 miles from my grandparents, our grandparents' farm in Arkansas and so on. And then once we got back from the trip, we started meshing and whatnot. And it turned out that he is related to my best friends from first grade in Charleston, Arkansas. Cody's her cousin.
Oh, wow.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, that I can see.
I was out having dinner with some friends the other night, and they were like, oh yeah, we haven't finished watching the teachers tournament, but we know one of the other people on there. And I said, is it David? And they said, yeah, I was his RA in college. And so we went back and looked at all of David's college yearbook pictures, and also 2 of my students, they're family friends with David.
Andy,
So
I need to step
that's
to
pretty
the door
good.
a second. I need to step to
That's
the door
fine.
just 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
So
no
literally
problem.
everyone knows David.
The Marshall Brady,
Yeah.
the Jeopardy teacher, sir.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so moving on a little bit, I'll reapprise David of the question once he gets back. But with Tuesday's semifinal, obviously the 2 of you, Mary and Michael, were still in the audience. David was probably breathing a bit of a sigh of relief when Tuesday's semifinal happened.
Yeah.
But what was it like? What was it like watching that game from the audience?
Okay, I'm back in. Sorry.
It was pretty good. I mean, they were all good games. I was just getting steadily more and more nervous because I was like, oops, got to play soon. And then I almost don't want to win because if I win, then I have to play 2 more games immediately afterward.
Are you crazy?
I mean, it was
I had to play 3 games back to back.
You did.
It was exhausting. Okay, you guys got to go to lunch, and I was in interviews, and then I got to the cafeteria, and it was so weird, and I couldn't talk to Cody, and I was happy to be able to talk to you and Nan, but it took forever to get lunch, and then I sat down and I ate like a quarter of my meal, and then we had to go right back, and you guys had gotten to chill out, relax. So we had a really stressful game with a stoppage where I just, by the skin of my teeth, won, and I thought I was going to lose to Michael literally the entire game, especially after that women in music category. And then I flabbergasted, and then we had to go play 2 more.
Yeah,
It was the most stressful experience of my entire life.
So there was a stoppage in your semifinal?
Yeah. I thought it was about the Niagara question, which I didn't challenge, but they gave back to me anyway. But it turned out, I heard they were fixing a clue on the board, and that's why we had to turn around.
I think that's what it was, because we were talking about this when I don't remember what it was, but we had moved on from that.
Yeah.
Then, which I just want to go back and say, the word for waterfall in Spanish is very similar to cataract, and I buzzed in ready to say it, and then I stopped myself and said, wait, that's not a word, and you're going to sound stupid, not remembering that I already sounded stupid a bunch of times.
Listen, I could not remember I could not remember a single word that had 3 A's in it, and I literally didn't know the candelabra question was a picture question until I watched it on TV. I was like, how did Holly, out of all words in the English language that must have 3 A's in it, know that these things can be used in pairs?
Right. But no, I remember they stopped. I don't remember when they stopped us, but I feel like they stopped us in the middle of the round.
Mm-hmm.
And they made us turn our backs to the board.
And Maggie came and like entertained us.
Yeah, and
distracted us.
Basically distracting us because they were afraid.
Didn't she do a fan dance or something like that? I forgot what it was.
Yes.
Did like
How could you forget Maggie's fan dance?
But then next thing we know, they say, "Okay, turn back around," and they come on and they say, "Hey, we've gone back and we reviewed our answer and we determined that this is acceptable." And for me, I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay," because we had moved on. We were 3-4. We were a bunch of things in.
That's true.
That when it happened.
Yeah.
So it was almost like an afterthought. And I remember I looked up at the scores at the end of the game, and I said to myself, "Wait, how did that happen?" And it almost was like time got frozen for a second because it wasn't immediate when that stoppage happened, and it just kind of made everything else kind of blurry.
And they gave me a big chunk of money back because they gave me back the money that had gotten taken away. Plus, they gave me like $2,400.
Yeah, so it was a big swing, and it was definitely a good one on your part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they stopped it.
I didn't ask for that. It just happened.
They check every incorrect response. So
sure,
they do. They I think the place that they paused was just when Holly hit a daily double.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, before you bid, you need to know this. And so that's when they gave you the money and said, we have to correct this and so on.
You're right.
Now, Holly, based on that, make your bid.
Yeah, you're right. And I think but Holly found that, oh my goodness, it had to have been 6, 7, or 8 questions later.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty deep. We were in deep.
It was deep in the game. So it was one of the things
it was
that was just kind of like, wow.
Later. It was literally 15 clues later. I'm looking. I have J-Archive up on another window.
Oh, good. There you go.
Yeah. It was 15 clues before because they'll stop tape at a daily double if they have to make that, and it just to make sure the scores are correct. But I think the funniest thing was all the people online who were all being like, "But Niagara has 2 A's."
Well, it's a good thing that I can sometimes spell.
That's great, Niagara.
Yep.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's Niagara, not Viagra,
Yes.
It was basically, that was the subject of an amusing joke at a Power Players Week many years ago. Al Franken was playing Keith Olbermann, and Keith Olbermann misspelled Niagara.
Oops.
In reference to a clue about the Final Jeopardy about the Marilyn Monroe film.
Right,
And
exactly.
Al Franken certainly made sure to make fun of Keith Olbermann for the misspelling.
True.
So, I know you kind of brought up lunch a little bit. So my question for you guys is one I always ask here on Jeopardy Live. Obviously, you guys got some lunch on Sony's dime at the commissary. So my question for you guys is, what did you end up having for lunch? And what did you end up having a quarter of for lunch, Mary?
Well, I had gnocchi and brown butter sauce, and it was pretty delicious, honestly. The first day I had a very disappointing matzo ball soup and a pretty tasty sandwich, but the gnocchi were much more striking, and I was too nervous to eat anyway, and it was so weird, because, I was so lucky to have Cody there, who was already my friend, but then I wasn't allowed to talk to him, and I was just, staring longingly at him and Sarah because we had been talking earlier in the morning. Not that I didn't want to talk to David and Nan, because I did, but also I knew I'd be playing them very soon. So it's just my solace was sequestered. All of my solaces were sequestered.
Mm-hmm.
Right. True. That's true. Well, that day for lunch, I think I got some kind of burger with guacamole and some salsa or something in it with some cheese, because I just felt like a burger that day after, because my game was first thing in the morning, and then I watched 2 games, and then we went to lunch. So that was nice. The funny thing about the lunch to me is that there we sat in the Sony commissary, and until Mary came, it was Nan and I and one of the Jeopardy people, and so I'm just sitting there, and television stars are walking into the commissary there, and you're like, oh, that's, and you can't go say anything because you're supposedly sequestered, but not.
I wasn't allowed to get a sandwich or a burger because I didn't have time to eat. But I had school lunchtime. I had 20 minutes. So that's fine.
So you're used to it.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
had a delicious grilled chicken sandwich.
Mm.
That's the end of my story.
That's true. That's right. Well, when we came back from lunch, I was joking because I'd had that first game in the morning, and it had been the big comeback game and stuff. And so as we walked back over, and as we got ready and dressed and everything and started going to the studio, so I turned to Nan and Mary and I said, so, basically we have 4 rounds here. Which one do you want me to come back in? And they looked at me and went, none of them.
I'd just like to point out that Nan and I did intentionally coordinate our outfits out of what we had brought. So in the first semifinal game, when we're both wearing purple, that was on purpose.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. I like that. Good march.
And then in the second game, I was wearing a dress that it turned out Michael's wife was also wearing in the audience, but she definitely wore it better, so it's fine.
I don't know. I thought it was quite fetching, Mary. I thought it was nice.
Oh, thank you.
It's lovely. It's lovely. Oh, before we started the first final, though, there was something I do want to share for your listeners, because I thought this is really neat. Mary, I don't know. You probably remember it, but I don't know if you thought about it or not or anything. Right before we started, they kind of get everything ready on the set and stuff, and they get you ready, and they say, okay, we're ready to do this. And there was about a minute or 2 pause before they started and all. And, as we were just getting ready to do this and stuff, I was standing in the first position, and I reached over and I gently grabbed Nan's hand, and I looked over and she grabbed Mary's hand, and we looked at each other and just said, good luck to each other. Because, we've become friends just over the basically 24, 48 hours we've been there, And, no, as far as I know, nobody captured that moment in a picture or film, but I thought that was a nice moment that you might not see in another tournament.
Right.
But the teachers.
I thought maybe I saw it in the background of some of your championship video, maybe. There's at least a couple of moments where we all are chatting very fondly with each other, which I thought was nice.
Right. I thought that was a nice moment and stuff, because I've been told that, maybe if you're at some games or other tournaments per se, that since we all have this bond in common of being teachers, maybe doctors or chemists or whatever might not have, we had that more of a connect there. So I thought that was nice moment.
And we did have some nice jokes too in the dressing room about your tie with the Constitution on it.
Yes, was it fair?
We're like, if we see you looking at that tie, sir.
That's right. I looked straight up at the board the whole time. I never looked down. It was not in those games.
That's how you get a cheat sheet on Jeopardy, is you wear a tie with words on it.
Yes. Well, that tie was actually a kind of a shout out to my wife's relatives in Pennsylvania, and the Quidditch Club founder from Keller High School, Katie Pulaski, and then stuff that I wore the very first game was a shirt and a tie that was purchased by the social studies department at my school, and so it was kind of a little tip of the hat to those things.
Nice.
Sorry,
that's nice.
I was hoping we were all bloodthirsty savages out to booby trap each other in the back, like. we really
no, we weren't exactly singing Kumbaya, but we were darn close.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, again, I am the most competitive person, and I literally said in one of my interviews I was going to chop Cody into bits. But I also honestly wanted us all to win. I wanted us all to win so badly.
Yeah.
And not just because I didn't want to lose.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Well, I'll say this too, to Mary. Mary, I know that you feel like that you're the most competitive person and everything and stuff and all, but this whole nice thing, it's just a facade and everything. I mean, I'm bloodthirsty. I
know you are.
I wanted to win. Oh my gosh, I wanted to win. But
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You did such a good job.
It wasn't that I wanted anybody to lose. It was just it's kind of you go in there, and for me, I mean, look, we all play Jeopardy at home by ourselves for the most part, okay, unless our spouses are there and they can play with us and stuff. So in a way, when the Jeopardy experience for me, well, okay, they don't. Okay, sorry. The Jeopardy experience for me is mostly in the morning. I'm getting up doing my exercises. I'm playing Jeopardy and stuff from the night that's been taped from the night before. So it's kind of a me versus the board. So when I was there actually playing, I was thinking myself in my head, it's me versus the board again. I wasn't really thinking about the people I was playing, you know. But I definitely wanted to win. I mean, sure. I might just be honest. I'm just being honest. And I know Mary did.
Good. Good. So. I'm glad you wanted to win. That's part of what made you a worthy opponent. If you had just got in there and been like, oh, I don't know, I'm just here, then I would have felt really bad about losing to you. As it is, I don't feel bad about losing to you because you were great.
Exactly. I would have been kicked off.
As for you, Mary. As for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
So, moving on to Thursday's final. Being an English teacher, did you just overthink that Final Jeopardy on Thursday, Mary?
Yes. Also, I realized I didn't know when Gone with the Wind was written. I know a lot of things about Gone with the Wind, but I did not know when it was written. But I own a copy now because Cody gave me one for my birthday, the Friday, it was the day after we got back from California. We went out to dinner for my birthday with a bunch of my friends, and he was like, oh, here's your birthday present. And it was definitely a copy of Gone with the Wind. So I'm definitely going to give him a Warhorse themed gift for his birthday.
I don't blame you at all.
Well, you know, Mary, I will say this: I would never do that to you. I would never give you a Gone with the Wind book. You know, if I'd won, I'd be glad that I won, but I wouldn't do that. That's just, to me, that just crosses over a line. Of course, it crosses over from Johnson County, Arkansas, over to Franklin County, Arkansas, where Cody's from. You know, so
that's right. Well, he said it was so we could burn it together, but I told him I'm not Guy Montag, so
that's true. That's true. Okay. So, well, you got through that question. Now you have to ask the question of what was it like for Mary and Nan to destroy me in the in that game play on the board before we got to Final Jeopardy? That's the thing, because you guys were taking it to me.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I was enjoying it for the most part, but Nan was destroying me too, because that good daily double she got partly.
Yeah. When you look back, though, the number of questions that we answered were very close in that game, but she hit big on that daily double, and that bumped her way ahead when she was already ahead, and then that put her further up toward 20,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Nan's not here, but I don't know if she spoke to either of you about this, but did she overthink that final is the same way you did, or?
Well, Nan and I talked a little bit about how, for us, it was something of the curse of knowing too much because we just really overthought it a lot.
Whereas for you, David, was that kind of the first thing that came to your mind and you didn't really have much else to go on, or other options to really think about and consider, I mean?
I got that one right away because
you taught a thing about women in history, and I know this because your wife was so excited about it, because my wife was like, David's wife was so excited about this question, and she was saying, oh, he really deserved it because he taught a special unit on women in history, which, good for you. That's awesome.
So I knew that. I've also taken a lot of, Mary, now you know this, in Arkansas, to keep your teaching certificate, because that's how I got mine before I moved to Texas, you have to, or at least you used to have to take actual courses. You couldn't just say, okay, I'm taking 100 hours of continuing ed. So the last two classes I took were related to women in literature. to keep my teaching certificate, because it didn't have to be in history necessarily, just had to be 6 hours of classes. And so I did know that. I knew that book was written in 36. My dad went to school at Emory in Atlanta for his seminary, and so he went down near where he'd gone to the place where she'd gotten run over by a car and was killed, and so we talked about that years and years ago. But no, I was right. That was right there. But I will say this, and I'm going to say this in Mary and Nan's defense: they would not teach Gone with the Wind in their classes.
No, and I specialized in post-colonial literature in school, so I didn't really know about it at all. And because I didn't really study any literature, because I was like, I already know literature, I only studied movies and a little bit of sports. So I could have told you that Gone with the Wind and picture author in 1939, but I thought it was written in like the 1880s. I don't know what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. In a way, it was almost like a historical literary women's authors question, and as opposed to just a strict women authors question today, because you wouldn't have your kids read Gone with the Wind in your class in a public school. They'd fire you. No,
we read Frankenstein and Shakespeare and Beowulf and Henrietta Lacks.
Isn't that book 11,000 pages?
Yes.
Of course you're not. My students won't even read 2 paragraphs. So you're going to have to read Gone with the Wind.
Well, but the other thing is, though, is it glorifies the lost cause.
Right.
A little bit of the KKK, or what developed into the KKK. I don't think she uses those words, but the men who were winning for the South, sort of winning the Reconstruction, And
I thought, as someone who was an observer, I remember that question popped up, and I had no idea. I leaned over, and I was sitting next to Holly, and she said the answer to me, and I went, wow, that's the answer. And I said to as the music was finishing playing, I said, that's a really good question. Like, the way that one was written, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely. And there's actually a comment on our YouTube chat from Matt Carberry saying exactly the same thing, especially the word debut, because a lot of people went down the path of Ayn Rand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And,
right. Yeah. It was a debut novel. It's actually the only official. Well, it was her debut novel. Yeah, I think she was working on the sequel when she was run over by a drunk driver.
Mm-hmm. So how much?
So to all the haters on the internet saying that Nan and I probably shouldn't teach English because we don't know Margaret Mitchell, we know lots of other things. Our priorities are elsewhere.
That's right.
The other things.
Also, we know Margaret Mitchell. Just FYI.
Yes.
That's right. They would have got there if we were playing Trivial Pursuit around the table.
Oh, man. The last time that Cody and I played Trivial Pursuit, which was also the first time Cody and I played Trivial Pursuit, it was a slaughter. And, he's also really smart. So, it all comes down to which questions you get and
That's
when.
Right. It does.
Precisely,
it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, moving on to Friday's game, how much did the massive shakeup of scores in that final Jeopardy affect, your respective confidence in Friday's game?
I mean, I feel like I was pretty obviously a little rattled because I knew I was losing so badly. Then I flubbed some questions that I should have gotten. Like, I knew Viola Davis, but I just said Octavia Spencer instead because I'd seen a picture of the two of them holding awards and the wrong name came out of my mouth.
Yeah, but
I was just taking risks, man.
In that second game, you were on a tear for a while there. I thought for a second that David was going to finally be on the receiving end of a comeback because. But
I felt behind the whole time, especially that baseball category. I didn't even buzz in. Like, if you watched, I was just like, nope, this is the thumb that does not move. Not even gonna.
Right.
People don't know this. If you look very closely, actually, during the baseball category, around the $600 question, it's actually a cardboard cutout of Mary. She left the stage.
It is.
to go get a drink of water and then come back to the round.
Little ice cream, just whatever.
Right. That's right. Well, and in that category, a couple of friends of mine busted me about Kershaw, and I said, look, she's from LA. If she doesn't get that, all of her friends bust her. Oh, and yes. if you look over at me in that question, I'm hitting the buzzer as fast as I can. She just beat me to the punch, but I got the other four, and I was really glad I got Jackie Robinson because he actually truly, I tell this to my students every year, he is my favorite person in American history. And biggest hero because Jackie Robinson, he didn't have an army like George Washington did behind him, and he didn't have, like Lincoln didn't have the whole, federal government behind him to keep the country together. Jackie Robinson walked out on that baseball diamond before the whole country alone and says, it's time for a change. And he did that. So when we got to that one, I was like, I'm going to tackle Nan and Mary if either one of them get this before me. Okay.
That was the only one that I knew, and I was just like, I'm going to leave this for David because I'm just going to leave this for I'm not even going to try.
Oh, she may have heard me rumbling. I was like, I'm getting this, I had it.
I knew. But I didn't know. I literally felt like I was losing the entire time, and it was a complete surprise to me to rewatch the game and realize that I was not. So we all ended up with a lot of money. It was a high-scoring game.
Yeah. That last game was.
Yeah. It was very high scoring, and in the final game, one thing I will say about this is that some of the first game with Cody and all we were tied at the end, and then I had the comeback game and stuff and all. But I think really that final game, the final day, was more of the Jeopardy player like I normally am on just a weekday kind of basis and stuff. I mean that I'm in there with the categories. I thought Nan was great. I thought Mary was great. I thought we all showed ourselves as to be really strong Jeopardy players in that final. Is that Mary got a lot of questions, Nan got a lot of questions, I got a lot of questions, and Nan literally could have beat me. She was in the final thing. If she'd bidded all that she had, we would have only been like $2,000 apart from the 2 days or less. That's a really close $100,000 final.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And if I'd missed it, I'd be sitting here going, well, they played great, and it was nice to lose to the two, best ladies there. It was just,
it was really exciting to watch too, and I felt. I went in myself and my goal was just try to make 2 shows, because there's so many variables. You don't know who's on the buzz. You don't know what everybody knows. You don't know what category you're going to get. So that was just the goal for me. So when I did that, I kind of I was loose after that, but then watching, especially that last episode, it just reaffirmed to me, like I said, you know what, the 3 best people, I think the 3 best players were in it at the end. And I think there were, Sarah was really strong in her 2 games. I felt, I'm of course way critical of myself, but I felt I did a decent job too, and tried to present
you did a great job
as a strong player. But, I don't have any shame in saying that my goal going up against Mary and going up against Holly was just to hope that I could steal one, where I get maybe a set of categories that works for me, that I know, that I like.
Hey, you got women in music.
Hey, I was, and
that was on fire, man.
I was very excited about that one. And then the problem with the first question, the Go-Go's question, because my mom is the biggest child of the 80s that you've ever seen. So she was ashamed I didn't get it. And I had to explain, and I don't know, Mary, if you felt this way too. When they started to play the song, first of all, it wasn't the real song. It was like some.
I don't remember hearing a song.
Oh, thank you, because that's what I was going to say. It was some.
I was like, that was a song clue? I don't remember hearing a song. I don't know what I was. It was
some elevator music version when I watched it on the show. And then when Holly rang in and got it wrong, I was expecting them to play it again. And then they didn't. And I was like, oh, I didn't hear anything at all. So I just kind of let it ride, and luckily I got the other ones, which I knew. But I think that you 3, especially at the end, showed that you, I think, were the 3 best players overall. in this tournament.
Mhm.
So I think that last final, the scores being what they were and it being so competitive going in, I think was what was the best part. It was the cherry on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I think everybody, all 15 people were great players, and I think that I had just very formidable opponents in Mary and Nan. They were great competitors, and I thought it was just a fantastic 2-day final.
It was.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It was an excellent final for sure. So I've got a couple of other questions here. This one actually is for Michael. You're from the Chicago area, right?
I've been in Chicago now for 6 years, so I'd like to say I'm an adopted Chicagoan.
Okay. Well, actually, my question is, I know the Chicago Tribune. They have an entertainment writer who posts a local recap of every time there's someone from Chicago who plays on Jeopardy. Does that reporter contact you all beforehand, or do they just watch the show and write the recap based on the show?
No, I think they actually watch the show because I had done local press around my school because I actually teach in the southern suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had actually done interviews and email stuff with some people out there. But the most fitting story is that I actually came across the write-up of me, Chicago teacher to appear on
Mm-hmm.
Jeopardy when I was Googling my name in school because I was trying to find my picture on the website so that I can take it to Chipotle for a free Teacher Appreciation Day.
True life of a teacher.
It really is. So I think that person just, I guess, watches the shows or goes off some of the press releases because there was some information from some of the press releases. But I know I wasn't contacted by anybody from the Tribune, but I was in there twice, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think her name is Tracy Swartz from my research. Yes.
Yes, and if she's watching, I would love to speak with her in person.
And I was in the Keller Citizen, which our town of Keller, where I teach high school, has about 40 to 45,000 people, and I was in that paper. And then I was on the Dallas-Fort Worth TV shows and was interviewed there and all that. So I was out in the Metroplex and stuff, but actually in physical print, it was just the Keller Citizen. So not quite the Chicago Tribune. Michael, props to you for that.
Thank you.
For sure. So that's great.
So my next question, I don't know how often you watch Jeopardy, being in the Chicago area, Michael, with it airing at 3:30. But
it's the worst. It's the worst time slot for Jeopardy ever. I hate it.
But now that the three of you have been on the show, what's it? I know you answered this a bit last week, Mary, but for Michael and David, what's it like watching Jeopardy at home now that you've been in studio, now that you've had the opportunity to be a contestant?
It's funny because we were actually talking about this on our group chat this morning, how weird it is and how, for now, hopefully the magic will come back, but we wish we were watching each other play a little bit.
Yeah.
No disrespect to any other contestants who are obviously all great people, but we miss us being on Jeopardy.
Yeah, I have to agree there too. When we got done taping, I remember I was in the hotel room and I said to my wife, I don't know if I really have a need for the show anymore. Just because, watching, like David said, you watch it with your spouse and it's one thing, but my wife is a very smart lady, but she's not trivia smart. So it's like I'm watching it with me so I can say the answers to myself. But then it's so stupid because you think as you're watching it, I'm also thinking in the back of my head, well, this will be good practice because one day when I'm on the show, I'll be able to
never again
used to it. But now that I was on the show, I'm kind of like, at first I thought, is it something that I really want to keep doing? And then I came home and I started watching some other episodes that I had on my DVR, and I just feel like I watch it differently now too. I watch it from a more like analytic perspective, as nerdy as that sounds, where I'll go, oh, that's a really good question, and I'll start to say, oh well, and I'll guess 2 or 3 things at a time now instead of trying to pick one and go with it. So I think being on the show changes, at least for me, changed my perspective of how I approached it and how I consume it. But I don't think that I can stop all the way. I can't quit cold turkey.
It's definitely helping me out for Learned League.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I play J6 and the Clue of the Day every day with my 4th hour because they were just so excited about me being on Jeopardy and stuff. And so, it's our sweet little ritual we play before we start the lesson, and I don't want to give that up, but it's weird to think, well, okay, I'll never be on it again. I mean, I registered for the online test just to take it for fun, and I got the email that said, all right, you're one step closer to being on stage with Alex Trebek. And I was like, man, Alex Trebek held my hand. Okay, so, which I also did not remember. And then everybody's like, he held your hand for a long time. I was like, yes, I guess. I literally do not recall, but yes, this happened.
Time stopped and everyone went blurry and Green Weaver started playing in the background.
Well, I was just thinking, oh no, well now I have to go to interviews and then I have to get my makeup touched up again and then I have to go to lunch and then I have to get my makeup touched up again and I have to,
Yeah. I think I'm a kinder watcher now. I don't yell at the TV, get me on Jeopardy anymore, because I've gotten to be on there, but it hasn't changed. I mean, I love the show. I still like playing. I still like challenging myself in that way. But in a way, one of the things that I shared in the group text this morning is that I sort of feel like I'm in an episode, or I'm in the movie Ben-Hur, the one with Charlton Heston, and we've just gone through the chariot scene about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and they've carried the broken body of Masala, and they put him down on the table in there, and Judah Ben-Hur comes over to him, and he goes, "It's not over, Judah. It goes on," because TOC is up ahead. So
yeah, you got to keep studying.
So game on, keep studying and keep preparing, and here we go. Because let me tell you, those guys out there ahead of us and those ladies out there ahead of us in the TOC look mean and nasty.
Well, we're all hashtag Team David, so don't worry about it. You got your squad behind you.
I appreciate it. We'll gather at my house and have some practice sessions before I go to LA.
I like that.
Yes.
And Jason's allowed to come in second.
Yeah, he's allowed. I mean, that's fine. He's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So, some comments from the YouTube chat.
Jason is a formidable
Jason
player.
says, huh.
No, I think Jason still. It would be amusing for him. He would be watching this from. I think he's at the Phillies game tonight. But
yeah, he is. He said, or at least that's what he said. But I'm sure he'll have some things to say later. Jason, we like you. It's just we got to be Team David.
We love you, Jason. Congratulations on having an extra year to study up for the tournament of champions.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So Trevor Mahoney says you'll always miss being on the show. Definitely not the same.
Yeah.
Yes, it is different.
I miss Maggie more than anything.
Yes. I do too.
I mean,
I do too.
Maggie again. Now she's my mom, and I can't even talk to her, and I'm so sad.
The unsung heroes really are the people behind the scenes. Karina and Lori.
And Ryan and Glenn.
Ryan,
yes.
Bless Ryan's heart. He's just sitting in that green room, just staring at everyone, making sure they don't take their cell phones out or something.
Right.
And everybody was just, they made it so that it wasn't overwhelming, so that it wasn't as daunting. They really helped. I for me at least, kind of calm the mood a little bit. And once we ran through the practice and we did that rehearsal, I went backstage and I was like, I'm ready. Now I'm good, because it just kind of demystifies the whole experience. That now it's like I'm in the zone, and now we're ready. Now we can have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that Ryan helped calm us down a lot with his stories about Alex Trebek and the jean shorts and Alex being stuck under the hedge that one time.
Yeah, I've told that story a bunch of times too.
Me too. And also the one time that Ryan during a match was like, I need a pen and paper. And we're like, okay, here you go. Why? And he's like, oh, I have to doodle during the matches so I look smart. And then I looked down at the end of an entire match and he'd written one word on his paper. And I was like, Ryan, that's not doodling. He also
That's
promised
funny.
me a Jeopardy sweatshirt if I gave him a shout out, and then it turns out there are no Jeopardy sweatshirts, but that's fine. I have my Jeopardy tattoo now, so wear that all the
That's
time.
true. That's true. That's true. We want to have the big reveal someday about that too. So that's very exciting. But I have to say too that the people the folks that work with the show, from the producers to the makeup people to the camera people, they were fantastic. They were so kind of us as teachers. I mean, they literally every person I felt like there said at one time or another to us, "Hey, my mom's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, my dad was a teacher, my mother was a teacher," and we just want you to know that we appreciate what you do. And this tournament is to lift up you, but also lift up teachers across the country who work really hard and spend their own money, which we really that's not a myth. We really do things for kids and stuff too as well. Not to say, oh, we're all good. I'm just saying that
right.
We try to meet the needs of the kids that we're given, in our classes, and Jeopardy recognizes that, and so I say, all power to Jeopardy, Alex and the producers and the people and Maggie and everyone. Gosh, it was a great experience and a great ride.
And even the people who didn't have a teacher in their family or their direct circle said, you know what, thank you, because you do what you do and I couldn't do what you do.
Yeah.
And that really meant a lot, because I feel like as teachers, we hear all the time, well, the schools aren't effective. It must be the teachers. There's so many bad apples, blah, blah, blah. And there are, okay, there's a few bad apples, but that's true of anything. And school's not a business. It doesn't run the same way. It doesn't look the same. The results are always different. And it's not an easy job, and it was just nice to have some recognition from some people who do something that's so nationally and internationally a touchstone.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it's so important to so many people.
Yeah, and if schools ran like a business, the copiers would work.
Yeah, yeah, and half the kids would be fired.
Yes.
We can't fire them. We keep them. We hold on to them. We teach them that they're valuable, and it's an uphill battle with some of those kids, and even your favorites some of the days. Not that we have favorites, but it's not an easy job sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Andy, thank you so much for asking us to do this, and I know you do this every week and all, but gosh, for us to get a chance to talk about the Jeopardy stuff and then to get to share a few things with you about what we do in real life, that's cool.
It's awesome to talk to, not just you guys, but everybody every week.
Sure.
About the experience. The online testing is coming up next week. So do you guys have any quick advice for anybody that might be taking the test?
Just
do it. Yeah.
Guess.
Go with it.
No,
your instincts are probably good.
Trust your instincts and just guess. Don't leave anything blank. Take your best shot at it, because I can tell you, I don't remember a single question that was on that was on the online test that I took. I remember
getting a couple wrong, but that's all.
One of them. So whether I got them right or I got them wrong, I have no idea. But somehow I still made it.
Right. And
sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. And, I took the test twice and got 2 in-person auditions. I'm just really lucky about it, I guess. But keep trying. Everybody else pretty much said, Lindsay took it once and got an audition and got on. But most people take it, 5 or 6 times before they actually get on the show.
Yep.
Right.
Sometimes before they even get an interview.
Right. It was 3 years for me to take the test. First time I got an interview and after this 3rd year testing.
Yeah. And I was in my audition, because I was the same way. I was similar to David, but in my audition, there were people that were on their 2nd, 3rd, some people were on their 3rd in-person audition.
Oh, I've met people at my 2nd one that were on their 12th in-person audition, and it just did not ever happen for them.
Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And if you do get that online, get the audition, remember the time you get into the room until you leave. It's all the tryout. So whatever Maggie tells you to do, you do it.
And be charming. Stand out in their minds. I knew that I had done a good job the 2nd time when Maggie said goodbye to me by name on the way out.
Okay.
And it's all about your personality.
Yeah.
Because everybody in that room is probably as smart as you are. And can I just say how amazing it is to be in a room of people who know as many things as you know?
Yeah.
Because every single person at the tournament had been told, "Oh well, you'll be it. You're gonna win because you're the smartest person I know." And we were all like, well, I appreciate that, but I know what kind of company I'm going into, and it was just amazing to be in that company.
Yes, I completely agree. I just got Ken Jennings' Brainiac, the book, and started reading it. And I read in the first chapter, he said, statistically, it's about 8 times harder to get on Jeopardy than it is to get into Harvard. And that made me stand a little taller the next day. After I read that, I was like, okay, that's cool.
Thank you, David. I needed that word today. So
Same.
Yes, exactly. And that's coming from somebody that got into Duke, but still Harvard means something to us as educators. And you're like, really, 8 times harder to do that? Okay, all right, game on. All right.
Well, I didn't get into Harvard, so
neither did I. So I didn't apply, but I wouldn't have. So let's be honest.
It's good.
Yep.
Can I just say something about Final Jeopardy in the second game?
Yes.
And it's going to sound like an excuse, but it's not really an excuse. But I guess it's kind of an excuse. I was not in the country in 2005 in the fall when Katrina happened. So Hurricane Katrina was not like a real thing to me. I was in South India during my study abroad. So, I was reading the news. I was trying to keep up with it. But I don't think that I really understood the impact of it at all. Because when I was listening to the coverage on NPR in the fall of 2015, when they were saying, all right, it's the 10-year anniversary, I had honestly no idea how much devastation it caused. Because when you're just reading the news figures, it is not the same. And one of the things that's most fascinating to me about Jeopardy is that if I ask David or Michael about any of the answers they got, they can tell me a story probably about some kind of human connection or something that got them to that answer.
Yeah.
Right. And I really didn't have the connection to that event. Because people would say, "Oh, are your people all right?" And I said, "Yeah, we're pretty far inland, so it didn't really impact my family, but it was a devastating event that I just had no idea of the magnitude of." And
and in your defense, also, you didn't give a bad answer, because I knew a lot of smart people that were watching that said, "Oh, that's
yes."
I also said Detroit playing at home, so.
Yeah, a lot of people got there, and truly with this particular Final Jeopardy, after it was over, I went down twice in the next 18 months and worked with my church on service projects, working on homes and things. So I really, 2005 and 2006 were big years, and knew the devastation. I don't know about y'all. I don't know if I think some of the schools in Arkansas got some of the New Orleans kids. I know we certainly got some via, and then up to North Texas. So we still have kids that drive into the parking lot with Saint stickers on their cars at Keller, and I'm sure a few in Little Rock, and certainly down in Houston. So there was that, as she says, a personal connection in that sense. But I say, to defend Mary too as well, that a lot of people got to Detroit. Half the teachers at my school have said, "I was at Detroit, David. Mary, you're there. So don't ever even think about that again." Just
no, I'm not ashamed of it. I just wish, I wish that I had understood the magnitude of it. Is more what I'm trying to say.
Sure, right.
Because I feel in a way that I've done a disservice to the people of New Orleans by not understanding this tragedy, and I feel bad about that. I don't feel bad about missing the question. Anybody can miss a question.
Right, sure, but that's so right about the fact that every question we got, there was probably some kind of personal connection, because I can tell you the questions that I remember offhand, especially the whole women in music one, I could give a personal story about all of those, as friendly as it is. But you're so right, because David just now, when he talks about Gone with the Wind, he had there's a whole connection to that. Also, it's like I was expecting to get at least a question that I knew just from watching Jeopardy for the last 30 years, because that's the reason I know a lot of the stuff that I know. I've never picked up Vanity Fair, but I know that Thackeray is the author because of Jeopardy. But I don't think I got any of those questions. that I knew because of Jeopardy. I knew them because of something else that I've done, that I've seen, that I've read, that I've heard, that I've been part of. And I feel like a lot of people would probably say the same thing afterwards. So it's for those people that are, that are big studiers and who really prep hard for things, there really is no substitute for just knowing what you know through experience, because that's what's going to be ultimately what is going to really make or break you, almost, I think, as a contestant on the show.
The stuff that you cram doesn't stick in your head the same way because it doesn't really fit into your schemas. Like the Postal Service called me to ask about the postage stamp category, which I, again, had forgotten existed because apparently I did a brain wipe after Jeopardy. But, I told them I got the egg cream question because I used to watch The West Wing with my friends in college. And I remember that Bartlett was drinking an egg cream once.
Yeah, I had no idea on that one.
Right, yeah.
And then my mom was like, "Oh, I used to feed you guys those." And I was like, "Did you?" Oh, yes, it was because of that, Mom. Thanks.
Yeah, of course, tell her that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and we've all been watching Jeopardy for a long time, and there are people out there that watch Jeopardy all the time, and some people want to write articles, they want to write criticism, or they want to write tweets or whatever else and stuff, and until you're up there on the stage with the buzzer and stuff and all, and Michael said this to all of us in the green room in the middle of the whole contest. He said, I'll never watch Jeopardy again the same way, because when you're there standing there under the lights and the buzzer and everything else and stuff and all, you may know all of that, and in just one moment, the next person's already buzzed in. So, it's one thing to. I mean, obviously there are clear mistakes that people make sometimes, stuff, but in the 2-3 seconds you've got to really figure out what the answer is and stuff. To bust somebody over that, I'd say that to any Jeopardy player, anytime, any Jeopardy watcher, anywhere. I mean, my best friend from high school. I get this. My best friend from high school got on there and he made a 36 on his ACT the first time. 36. That's a perfect score. Okay. And so he messaged me and he says, David, hey, congratulations. But, I think back in the day I could have taken you. And my response to him was, bring it on, big guy. The Jeopardy test is, at the end of May here like this. You go ahead and try out and everything. Go ahead, I mean, what a rude thing to say to somebody that just won $100,000 on Jeopardy. I was like, give me a freaking break. If you think you can do better, then try out, go on and do it. Go ahead.
And if any of us had gotten a different board, the tournament could have gone a completely different way.
Exactly. Agreed.
Every single person on the tournament was of such high caliber, and I just feel so honored to know all of you. And that's my favorite part of Jeopardy, is the people that I got to meet.
Yes, and let's sing Mary's praises, let's sing Nan's praises, let's sing Michael's praises, let's sing each one of the teachers that was on there, because just to go from 70,000 plus to 3,000 to 400 to 15, that is impressive just to get there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, was there anything you thought I'd bring up tonight on panel that I didn't, or anything else you want to bring up before the end of the episode tonight?
I have one funny thing to share.
Okay.
If you got a minute, Andy. Okay.
I've got a minute. Yeah.
Okay. On the bus back to the hotel at the end of Tuesday's tapings, we got talking about different experiences and things, and we got to talking about our families, our spouses, how we met them, and so on like this and stuff and all. And I told a personal story about something to do with my wife and their family and the rehearsal dinner picnic that happened and all. And the end of the story, literally the punchline at the end of the story was, as God is my witness, there will be no hoagies at the rehearsal dinner picnic. My family's paying for it, like this and stuff. So when that question came up with Margaret Mitchell as the answer, I'm thinking in my head, I wrote down Margaret Mitchell, and then I stood there for 20 seconds thinking, oh God, I just gave away Final Jeopardy last night on the freaking bus.
I mean, yes and no.
Over. It's
yes
over.
And no.
I was just, but that's what's going on in my head, Mary. I'm thinking, oh no.
Right.
Oh no!
Hey, I was there for that story, and I connected it to Gone with the Wind at the time, but I just couldn't connect the Final Jeopardy clue to Gone with the Wind. That was my problem. It was a great story. I enjoyed it a lot.
But in my thought process, I'm thinking, I really questioned myself. Did I just give it away? And then 20 seconds later, I was like, okay, after that was over. And so, that's.
So you had a good thought in your head when Alex started to be like, well, it seems like Mary and Nan struggled with this a bit. And
I was relieved to hear that Nan struggled, but I figured David probably had it.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I did. But I will say this: if you look back at those 4 episodes in the third game, the first game of the finals, I did not do the fist pump because I was just wrung out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, whoa!"
Yep.
I just really regret that I did not do the great job on my Jeopardy semifinalist thing, and then I did that little nod that they turned into a GIF. Thank you, Jeopardy official account. Because now it doesn't seem like they ever released any of the interviews or anything that we did except for David's final interview. So all of the in-jokes that I tried to keep off the main part of the show and save for the B-roll are all vanished. And all the pictures of us throwing the apple around. I really wanted to see those pictures.
But
at least there's Eduardo, so that's good.
Yeah. There may be a few things that get posted later, because if you go back and look at the 2016 thing, there's a lot more stuff posted now and a lot of inside stuff on each of the contestants. That if you go back and look at the 2016, there may be some things that I don't feel like what they've posted on 2017 tournament is fully out there yet. I think that there's more to come. I do.
The summer reruns too.
Yeah, right. That's right. So there may be some things to be posted on the website that have little inside and out things about the tournament that they just haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah. I want to say 2 quick things before we end. Number one, I am so happy to be a part of this and a part of the legend that is Jeopardy, which is awesome.
Yes.
And I also want to say that I have nothing against Taylor Swift. I think she's wonderful. I'm not throwing shade at her. I was simply making a social critique about how a 30-year-old man who teaches at a majority African-American school may not be the person who should be ringing in and getting Taylor Swift, but okay. I'm
gonna let you finish, Michael, but I really wanted to get that question, which was, again, the only one I knew in that category.
Taylor, I know you're watching. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you as an artist and an individual.
and I want to jump in and say that my youngest daughter, Carly, loves Taylor Swift, and thank you to Carly for getting me on the Quiz Up app, because that really helped in my practice. That was awesome to get that on my phone. And my oldest daughter, Susanna, bought me the 20th anniversary Jeopardy book, which gave me the secret sauce about how, hey, when people lose on Jeopardy, champions, they'll tell you it was either bidding or it wasn't my category. So that helped me not panic in that comeback game. So I give it props to my daughters, and then my wife. Oh, this is funny, you guys. I will say this, Andy. My wife always shouts out the answers at the TV, and I have to give props to my wife, Cindy Sears Clemmons, because she agreed to be quiet during all of my practice shows and stuff, so I could get the rhythm of Alex's voice to buzz in. So it was really a Team Sears Clemmons effort among Cindy, Carly, and Susanna to get us there in the practices. So I thank them.
I feel so much better about how I did in relation to how much I studied now, which was almost none. I have one final shout out. It is to the guy who posted in the Jeopardy Facebook group on April Fool's Day to say that they had called him up for a Lovable Losers tournament, and how disappointed I was when I realized A, I couldn't say anything because our episodes hadn't aired, B, it was April Fool's Day and that was not real. Disappointing me so much. Yeah. Also, thanks to all my family and friends who have ever tolerated me doing all the trivia. but they already know.
Yeah.
I already tell them.
Yeah. And we have to say to Farmers Insurance, thank you.
Yes.
The grants are awesome. And I know I can't speak for everybody else. I have to say that my district, Keller ISD, and my high school, Keller High School, the teachers, the kids, that everybody's been really super supportive, even before they knew I won. That was really special on my end. I've just been on a cloud for the last 2 weeks, and then getting to cheer with everybody after the win was cool.
And for anyone,
shout out to Greg, my farmer's agent, for a really delicious Jeopardy themed cake.
Nice. And if anybody at all, go to the Keller ISD School District website or go to their Facebook page and find the video of them watching David win his tournament game. It is fantastic. Everybody has
it is really cool
because it's
really cool.
All the excitement of an NCAA tournament game except for Jeopardy, and it is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, we had graduation last Friday, and I run graduation with Cody, so nobody watched it. It's fine. It's fine. I was like, whatever, but also too busy.
Fair.
Right. That's right.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on panel tonight, and for everyone who tuned in to listen. I certainly enjoyed interviewing all three of you, and it was always great, but it was really nice to get with tonight's discussion. I thought it was quite excellent. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andy. We really appreciate it, and give a shout out to Nan, who couldn't be with us tonight. She's missed.
Yes, and all our other baseball buddies, and all our other teacher tournament buddies.
Yes, all of our teacher tournament buddies.
And Catherine, the alternate, who hopefully we'll all see next year. # Team Catherine.
Yes, exactly, too. And yes, shout outs to everybody. It was great.
Perfect. So we'll be back with another episode of # Jeopardy Live Panel in just a few days. Here are the edits for tonight. So thank you very much for tuning in and taking part. Have a great night.